Welcome to Work Life by Design. I'm your host, Mel Marsden. As a passionate entrepreneur with a desire to create places where people and business thrive, I hope to inspire you to find your place at work and in life so you can live a life by design. You'll hear stories of transformation, exploring everything from organizational psychology to brand, and identifying opportunities in your workplace and your life to inspire your human potential. So, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Work Life by Design. And this is our final episode for season 3 and for 2021. So today what I'm going to do is I am going to give you a bit of a wrap up of the entire season. And so if you've missed any of these great episodes, this is a really good place to start, to go back and fill in your time over the next couple of weeks before we step into 2022. Now, this whole season has been about designing a work life that you love. So if you have missed any of these episodes, this is a great place to start, to head back over the next few weeks and prepare yourself to consciously step into 2022 ready to design a work life that you love for the year ahead. So this season has covered a whopping 22 episodes, and there has been some common threads that have started to emerge again and again with each of our guests. And so what I want to do is I want to capture these for you in 3 key areas in today's episode to give you a bit of a highlight reel of what we've learned and where you can go back and get a few of those sparks of inspiration from some of our stellar guests that we've had over the past 22 episodes. So the first place that I want to start is with self-awareness. Now, the first thing that has really been reinforced for me is the need for us to truly understand ourselves in order for us to be able to consciously design a life and a career that is fulfilling, it's meaningful, it's energizing, and it lights us up. Now, what self-awareness means to me, and from what I've gleaned from the episodes that we've had in our guest, is that it's about knowing who we are. It's about knowing our personality. It's what we're good at, what we find easy, what we find effortless, what ticks us off, what situations we thrive in, and which ones are going to rattle us. It's all of this is the self-awareness that aids us in being so clear and so connected with who we are and what we ultimately will be guided by around what our personal purpose is and what our values are. This is about our whole reason for being, and it's what we are prepared to stand for and what we're going to stand against. So we've heard this from numerous guests across the entire season. So one of these that came back to me quite passionately was with Olivia Rouleau in episode 60. So Liv is the CEO of Business Chicks, and what she talks about is her passion for empowering women and how that led her to becoming the CEO of Business Chicks, and how she is so incredibly clear that she is not an entrepreneur and does not want to be and has no desire to be. That is not the path for her. But she will wholeheartedly stand behind the person who has that vision and enable them to succeed in that vision. So it's about having a very clear understanding of ourselves, what we want, and how we can go about actively pursuing that in our lives. So someone else that we heard this from was Samantha Wills in episode 56. And she described how through just going through life's motions and ticking boxes, she became so disconnected from the life that she had created and the life that she wanted, that despite the success of her global jewelry brand, she needed to honor that it was no longer the life that she wanted for herself. And she had to go about deconstructing that so that she could reconnect with the life that she wanted, because she had just gone on this journey of ticking boxes because she thought that was what she was supposed to do next. She had gotten so disconnected from who she really was. We also heard this from guests such as Tina Tower and Mel Brown around how they had experienced burnout. And one of these factors that had contributed to the burnout was their constant desire to continue to support others and forgetting about themselves in the process. So it's this disconnection from who we are, what it is that we're here to do and what our personal values are that enable us to get a little bit off course. And it's about that righting of the ship and reconnecting back with ourselves. Now, one of our other guests, Kerry Krieger, describes this as a familiar journey. And she has seen many of us embark on this, and we wander off course and we forget who we are and we forget ourselves. And it's only once we start to reach this point of emotional and physical breakdown that we then need to rebuild ourselves. And that's a journey she's also been on herself. Now, she describes this journey as a way to bring ourselves back to the midline. It's the point where we can reconnect with ourselves again. But this time we're doing it with so much more awareness. We know who we are because we've been off course. We know what's no longer right for us, and we can find the place that is right for us. And we can establish that midline, because as we continue to go through life, we will continue to wander off course. We will continue to navigate, but we know where that midline is to keep coming back to and recentering of ourselves. Now, the same is true in some ways for our organizations, because we need to be able to confidently articulate our purpose as a business beyond making money and being able to deliver stakeholder value. That is one way that we need to be actually living our purpose, because we need to be financially stable in order to be able to fund all the other important things that we do as an organization. So I don't dismiss the need for us to make money, but that is not the reason that many of us started our businesses. That is not the reason that many of our organizations exist. And it's about reconnecting back in with what is that impact that we hope to make as an organization? What is the difference that we are seeing us making in the world? How are we impacting others positively? It's about what is important to us. What is it that we value? And what are the rules by which we are going to operate? This is what makes us unique. This is what makes us different. This is what makes us stand out. And this is what will enable us to attract those who believe what we believe to our organizations. And this is how, as individuals, we can start to feel connected to the organizations that we work for. This is what gives our work meaning. And as Andrea Clark described it in episode 64, this is what then inspires us to exude discretionary effort, the desire to go above and beyond, to do more than is asked for us or that we are employed to do. And that, as she describes it, is the result of having a shared purpose, the difference that we are going to make together. So as you can see, there is this common thread that has woven throughout many, many episodes this season, connecting us back in with self-awareness, that ability for us to be able to clearly articulate our purpose and our values around who we are and the impact and the difference that we're going to make. The same is true for us as individuals, but also for us as an organization. So we need to be incredibly clear and articulate about what it is that we are doing as an organization so that we can attract those who understand themselves and want to contribute to that as well. And that is where we start to see power in the way that we can move forward collectively with meaning and with intention. Now, the next thing that I have seen coming through each of our episodes over the last 22 weeks has been around personal agency. Now, I've kind of distilled this down as our own individual ability to take action, to embrace and to exercise our own personal power to affect change. So personal agency to me is that willingness to get up and to take action, to embrace the opportunity that we have available to us to exercise change, to make a step forward. Now, this has showed up in a number of different ways for me. And one of these has been around routines and rituals. And this is a question I have asked most of our guests as they have joined me throughout the last 22 weeks. And what I have found is that these were often very strong foundations for their own personal stability. Now, some of the routines and rituals that my guests have shared with me have been everything from Tori Archibald's morning rituals in the shower, where she uses essential oils and sets her own intentions, through to a daily check-in of priorities that Bruce Davidson shared with me. So he has established a list of priorities that are important to him, the things that he wants to achieve in his life, and he checks in with those on a daily basis. Because one of his mantras is, if it's important, you will find a way. If it's not, you will find an excuse. And so having that list of what is important to him reminds him of what is important on a daily basis so that he can then set his day up for success. And Andrea Clark described how she uses active movement to go for a walk daily and how that process helps her order her thoughts. And it was such a pivotal moment for her in writing her book. So each guest has had a toolkit that they have leaned on to support them in creating structure, into creating guidance and routine in their days. And this is what has helped them manage themselves and their ability to move forward. So this again comes back to that level of personal agency. This is within our own control. Now, the next thing that kept coming up that I realized was mindset. Now, many of the guests that I have interviewed over the last few months have experienced some form of adversity throughout the course of their life. And what I noticed was their ability to be able to reframe their experiences. And Samantha Wills described this really well in her episode with me. And it was around the resilience that you find when you're sitting in the rubble of your life. And more importantly, the power that comes from rising out of that. So that mindset comes from within, that strength of personality, that strength of character, that ability to pick yourself up and keep going again. And it's not about just dismissing what's happened. It's about acknowledging where you are at and what you've experienced, and then finding a way to move forward. And that comes from strength of mindset. And I shared my own personal story of that in an earlier episode. It was called I Have a Confession to Make. And if you want to understand some of the personal mindset that challenges that I went through and how I overcame them and what tools I had in my toolkit, that's a really great episode to tune into as well. So it's all about the ability to embrace a growth mindset, to embrace the opportunity to evolve through challenges. Now, this is also about actively pursuing our goals and our dreams, because to set a goal and a dream, we then have to actually go after them. We have to achieve our goal by taking action. We don't achieve our goals by sitting on the sideline. We have to actively get up and make conscious effort towards achieving those goals. And that really resonated throughout the episodes as well. And the other thing that came up in those conversations was the desire to embrace a life and a career that was authentic to them. Now, this was interesting because whether they had always known that this was the career and life aspirations that they wanted, or they had been on one of these meandering journeys of ticking life's boxes only to wake up one day and realize that this wasn't the path or the dream that they had envisioned for themselves, that this was just kind of what had evolved over time. And now was the time to right the ship. It was about creating a work life that was right for them and one that delivered on what their own version of success was, and how critical that really was to their own sense of happiness. Because what I saw in these episodes was that we often have a version of success that has been defined by those around us. It has been defined by the values and beliefs that we are given and we take on as children, those that we then capture as we're part of a workforce. And there comes a point, I believe, in many of our lives where we have to reestablish what success means to me. What will I find success in? How will I define success? And then it's about redefining and recreating my work life to suit. And that came out very strongly through many of the conversations around where people had gotten off course, and then they had to find what true success meant to them, and then how that was going to be defined and what they then could do to create a work life that felt authentic and successful to them. Now, Nick Hatherley communicated this beautifully in episode 66 when she described how the new era of business is one that is connecting our hearts and our heads. You know, we are all individuals and we all have a very unique portfolio of skills, unique attributes, and a unique personality. And it was about how we can then communicate this in what Nick calls our signature brand. So no longer do we have a personal brand, we have a signature brand. And that signature brand is all about the impact that we can make on an organization, on the world. It's the impact that we can make by bringing together everything that is unique and authentic to me and how we can then show up in an authentic way. So that was another big piece of the pie for me in understanding some of these threads that sit through underneath personal agency. It's about connecting in with what is really, truly uniquely yours and how you can then leverage that to create impact and to design a work life and a career that works for you. Now, the final thing that I saw that was coming up through this idea of personal agency was the actual fact that we now have this incredible opportunity to redesign our work life in a way that works for us. We have been given this incredible opportunity as a result of the global pandemic. We have been given the opportunity for flexibility to choose our own working hours, to design our perfect week and our perfect day in a way that works for us. We now have this incredible opportunity to choose how we want to live and work. We've been woken up to the fact that we were going along and we were so busy and so consumed, and we had completely lost sight of what was going to be important to us as our lives progressed. And this is that minute that we get to take to reset, to redesign a work life that works for us. We are constantly being bombarded, but this is that opportunity. And as I said, Bruce has said it beautifully in terms of what is it that we value? What is a priority? And if it's important, you'll find a way. Otherwise, you're just going to go and find an excuse. Now, for me, there's another layer to this, and it's about that intrinsic motivation. If I want to succeed at something, or I want to implant something in a daily routine or a ritual or a habit for me, I need to be connected to how it's going to make me feel. Because having a goal over there, out there in the horizon for me to aspire to, that worked for a while. That used to motivate me, but now it's about reconnecting back in with something that is intrinsically going to make me feel a way that is going to light me up. It's going to energize me. It's going to motivate me from the inside out. And so when I think about how I want to feel, I also need to think about, well, who do I need to be in order to feel that way? So if you're resonating with this and you feel like you need to be able to reset some goals to be able to aspire to them by understanding how you really want to feel about that, take a listen to the previous episode on goal setting and the myth busting that I set in there, because that one really helps you unpack and understand how you can set goals that actually inspire you and motivate you to want to achieve them. Because a lot of people have these preconceptions around goal setting, and that one's a really good one to help set some base. And that's what Bruce uses to help him every day, is about setting those priorities, because about what is important to him. Never before have we collectively experienced such change on a global scale. The pandemic, whilst on one hand has challenged us in ways that previously we could have only imagined, on the other, it has opened the doors to incredible opportunity. The opportunity to redesign our work lives in a way that works for us. An opportunity to disrupt, reset, and recreate our new normal. And to help you on this journey, I am so excited to bring to you the Work Life Lounge. This is your VIP pass to accessing some of the greatest thought leaders in our world of work. So often we are told what we need to do and why we need to do it, but we are often left wondering, but how? How do I make the changes that I need to? And that's where the Work Life Lounge is here to support you, to guide you step by step through the how, to take back control and design your work life on your own terms. And for the next 3 months, you can have an Access All Areas VIP pass to the lounge, thank you to the sponsorship of Community. Committed to their purpose of fostering the creation of communities where people feel connected, Community is on a mission to ensure that we all emerge stronger together, that we consciously create our work lives on purpose as we head into 2022. Now, there are only 100 seats available under this incredible sponsorship, so to claim your seat in the lounge, head over to melissamarsden.com.au/work-life-lounge for more details. I can't wait to see you in the lounge. Now, let's get back to the episode. Now, the final thread that I have seen weaving its way all the way through these last episodes has been around rest and recovery. Now, well-being has become the forefront of all our conversations, whether it's individually or it's at work. And it's not just about the physical safety aspect of keeping ourselves safe and protecting ourselves from COVID. It's also about supporting the mental and emotional well-being of ourselves and our teams. And it has been an incredibly taxing year, and more so than 2020. We've had yo-yos of lockdowns, we've had all sorts of things thrown at us, and it has been a very, very challenging and difficult and emotionally exhausting year for so many of us. But with this shift, I think we've also become far more attuned to our personal needs. And some of this resonates through those two earlier threads that I mentioned around having a greater deal of self-awareness around what it is that we each individually need, and that ability for us to take that personal agency to really redesign that work life that works for us. We've had this opportunity to stop and to reflect and reassess why. Why do we do what we do? What does productivity actually look like? What does efficiency look like? And is it actually different to what we previously thought these things look like? And I think the answer is yes. I think we have had to start to reconfigure our idea of what productivity is and how we can work towards that. And I think if anything is true, it's that concept of we've now had to slow down to speed up. We really lost that connection with ourselves. And this has really been that wake-up call that we were all so desperately needing. So many of this season's guests have spoken about burnout in some way and their own experience of it, and the changes and the life lessons that they have been able to take from it. And whether it has been about how they've been pushing it through and just getting the job done, or ignoring their body's chronic health warnings, or just driving to that next milestone in their business or in their life, many of these guests have experienced the dangerous road of paying attention to our ego's desire for us to do more. It's that constant battle for us to be more, have more, do more. And it's about we've been given that opportunity to just stop and to reset and to reevaluate that. And what has come up for me again and again through these conversations is that we really need for us to acknowledge that we are not machines. We cannot continuously operate in sixth gear. And we need to acknowledge that different seasons of our lives require different levels of energy, of different levels of commitment to different things. And we need to respect them accordingly. There will be times for giving it our all and driving towards our goals and going 100 miles an hour. But this exertion and effort also needs to be balanced with rest and recovery time. Now, building this time into our daily, our weekly, and our monthly rhythms ensures that we are not operating on autopilot and we're not ignoring our human need to recharge, because it's inherent in us. We need that. Otherwise, we are going to experience burnout. Now, recharging is going to be different for everyone. And we heard this beautifully from Jess Sharp from Entain in episode 70, where she's described how rest and recovery time can actually be from active pursuits. So Jess is personally energized by learning, and others in her team by playing sport. And so it's about finding out what works for you and having a list of those things so that you've got something to go to when you need it. In episode 65, Get Lit Up, I give you some tips on how to identify what energizes you and what drains you, and how you can start to build your own little toolkit of having these go-to things to support you when you start to feel like you're getting to the edge of your tether, or you have built time into your day, which is what I highly would recommend, is finding gaps and planning this in so that you have that rest and recovery time. There is so many competing demands on our time. We're facing overwhelm with the amount of digital distraction we're now experiencing because we're constantly on Zoom calls, and we need to be setting conscious boundaries around how and when and with whom we are spending our time so that we can rest and recharge. Now, this isn't just at an individual level. This is also at an organizational level. And as we heard from Gary Webb in our last episode, he explained to us how this is at the absolute core of what they do at Mars Inc. because they don't need to measure the return on investment that they are getting from investing in the well-being of their employees because they can see it. It's everywhere. It exudes from the people within the organization, the performance of the organization, and the success of that organization. So if you haven't listened to that last episode, jump back one and tune into that because it really clearly articulates how when well-being is actually infused through the entirety of the organization, from process and policy to organizational structure, well-being can have a huge impact on the success of an organization. So, in summary, the 3 core threads that I have seen weaving themselves through this entire season in creating and designing a work life that you love have started with self-awareness. Who you are, what you want, what's important to you, what motivates you, and who you want to be. And it's that connection then to the work that we do and who we work for. And it gives us that sense of feeling like we're doing meaningful work. And the next thread was around personal agency, the foundations that you are then laying for yourself in order for you to actively pursue what is important to you. What are the routines and the rituals and the habits that you are laying to support you? How are you enabling your own personal growth? And what is your ability to authentically show up as yourself and take the desired action to design a work life that works for you? You have the opportunity to choose. And finally, it was all about rest and recovery. It's about personal well-being and being able to take care of yourself so that you can be there for everyone else. I constantly say you can't fill from an empty cup. You can't stretch yourself and continue to stretch yourself to take care of everyone else around you if you aren't taking care of yourself. It just can't happen. We need to be consciously managing those energy levels, and well-being really needs to be at the forefront of everything else, because when it is, everything else just flows because we are at our best. Personally, we are at our best. That's it for today. That's it for this entire season and for the year of 2021. I want to say a huge thank you to all of our guests this season for their generosity of time and their knowledge and for being able to contribute all of this valuable information for all of us to take away and implement in our own lives. I want to say a big, big thank you to you for continuing to tune in each and every week and your ongoing support. So thank you for continuing to join me here. I love producing this podcast each and every week and being able to bring you guests and share my insights from things that I've experienced in my own world and my own work and the work that I'm doing through the Live a Life by Design program and the Work Life Lounge with so many other amazing people in this world of work. So thank you for continuing to support us and for coming back here each and every week. I wish you and your families a magical and restful Christmas. And I look forward to being back here with you in 2022 with a whole new season of the Work Life by Design podcast. So thank you very much. Have a merry, merry Christmas and a wonderful new year. And I look forward to seeing you back here in 2022. Thank you for joining me for Work Life by Design. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love you to rate, review, or subscribe, or all three, in iTunes and share it with your friends so we can continue to build this community. I would love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, you can connect with me on Instagram @Melmar or send me an email at melissa@melissamarsden.com.au. I hope this episode has given you a few sparks of inspiration so you can design a work life you love.